All right, let's start. So we were gonna start gateway. Okay, we talked about certificate profile. We call the certificate chain under certificate profile. The next important thing to define on a gateway is the gateway. So under GP gateway network, GlobalProtect gateways, you define your gateway. So you can give it a name, define the interface and the IP address. This interface will be communicating with the satellite firewall. We define the SSL TLS profile. So under network, GlobalProtect gateway authentication, call the TLS profile. The TLS profile has the GP gateway server certificate signed by intermediate root CA. And for authentication, you can define your authentication. In our case, I'm using local auth. Then under satellite, under tunnel setting, define the tunnel interface. Under tunnel monitoring, remember we created a tunnel monitoring profile. Call the tunnel monitoring profile over here. Under the network setting, you can define DNS information. So this DNS information will be actually enforced from the gateway. Define IP pool information. You can also define access routes. So access routes and IP pool that would be pushed to the satellite along with the DNS. The next is route filter. If you want to filter or define any permitted subnet, you can define those configuration over here. So configured to allow accept satellites published routes and permitted subnets. So once configured, the gateway firewall will listen on TCP portal IP. I'm sorry, TCP gateway IP 443. There's a typo over here. It's a gateway IP on HTTPS. Authenticate satellite for validating the satellite certificate. Processes the gateways get satellite config request. Gateway configuration includes the IP address from the pool, DNS setting information, access route information, IPsec SPIs, keys, algorithm information, etc. Processes the tunnel setup to complete the request. Establish IPsec tunnel to the satellite. Adds routes and routing traffic to the satellite via tunnel. So this is actually communication between satellite and gateway. Before going there, let's review our configuration in our lab. So our gateway is 192.168.10.3. So 255. So this is the gateway firewall and the interfaces. I define an interface 192.168.10.3. Put it under L3 trust zone. Remember, this has to communicate with the satellite firewall on IPsec. If you remember 4 applications which we were discussing. So for that, you should have a DP policy. So I have a DP policy. So from trust to trust, I define all the traffic or all the application traffic. Then the next one, this is an optional part, but I did configure. It's a tunnel monitoring profile. So network profile, monitor. So go to network profile, monitor. I define this profile, and interval and threshold is default. The next one is the certificates. So I created a certificate on portal I exported it and called it in the gateway. So under device, certificate, this is my certificate chain. If you remember on the portal 108, I defined gateway certificate as well. Okay, this is the gateway certificate. I have not called that gateway certificate over here, so let's export it and call it. Okay, 1 second, I would have to rename it. Okay, let's import. Okay, I have the gateway certificate. I should use the same certificate in the TLS profile. Okay, okay. So when I import gateway certificate, or sorry, export gateway certificate in base64 PEM format and import it on the firewall, I do not see it over here. There's a reason behind it. I'll explain that to you. Let me remove the certificate. So when you're importing the gateway certificate, make sure uh, when it is exported into NPKCS 12 format. Okay. Now let's import it. And file format PKCS12. Right. The certificate is, let's see if I can call it now in the TLS profile. Okay, I can see the certificate now. Okay, so certificates are done. TLS profile is done. We also need a certificate profile. Let's confirm, do we have a certificate profile? Yes, I created this. Give it name as LSVPN client cert CS. I need to call the certificate chain. So let's go ahead and roots here. And I'm using intermediate certificate to sign. So I'm calling intermediate CA. Okay. So I have certificate profile. I've called the certificate chain. The next is the gateway configuration. I created an LSVPN gateway, defined interface, and the IP address. So in a topology, 192.168.10.3, that is the interface IP address. I called it over here. Next is the authentication tab. Under authentication, I defined the TLS profile we created with the server certificate. Then I'm using local auth. I defined the auth profile for it is using local database. So local database, and then I called it under authentication. Okay, authentication done. Also, under the same authentication tab, you have to call your certificate profile. The certificate profile which we actually created, I'm calling it over here. The next part is satellite. Under the satellite, we need to create the call the tunnel information. So the tunnel interface which is created over here is tunnel.1. The tunnel monitoring, I created LSVPN tunnel monitoring. I called it over here. Under the network setting, I am actually calling this TNS. So this will be push from gateway. I defined IP pool. Access route, I gave the default route 000. I'm not using any route filter. So that's it. Also, just to show. So this is the tunnel interface I created. It, it will be used for tunnel monitoring. So IP address has to be given on this interface. So I created this as well. Okay. Okay, let's. So I have the minimum configuration on the gateway. So once configured, gateway will be listening to HTTPS 443. It will authenticate the satellite after validating the certificate. It will process the gateway's get satellite config request. Gateway configuration include IP address, DNS setting, access routes, and IPsec SPI's keys algorithm. It will process the tunnel setup complete request. It will establish the IPsec tunnel to the satellite, and then it will add the route and start routing traffic to the satellite via the IPsec tunnel. Okay, so this is a connection from app to gateway, a satellite to gateway, an IPsec tunnel established. Satellite, first the satellite retrieves the gateway information from the portal config. Then satellite will send a satellite register request. Satellite sends a satellite certificate in the TLS handshake to the gateway for authentication. Once successfully authenticated, sends a request that includes published routes, tunnel interface IPs, etc. Gateway respond back with the gateway config that include info about IPsec tunnel keys. Now the tunnel setup complete request. Satellite sends a request to check the status on the tunnel setup. Gateway responds back with the status. So gateway satellite register request. How does it look? Under the SATD log, you can see this is how it looks. We'll see gateway, get config from the gateway, and we'll see the IP address. We'll see the satellite requesting to it. You will also see publish route to gateway, yes. Publish connected routes to gateway. Whatever we have defined on the gateway, you will see it under over here. So this is an important log. Initiate gateway info tunnel parameters from gateway IPsec. Info passed from the gateway config. Gateway sent 3 routes. Print from hash, and you will see the route below at the bottom. You can see. Once the satellite receives, you will see this message: satellite info received from gateway. You will see the information. So public IP, tunnel IP, satellite assigned IP. You will see SPIs as well. If you have any denied route, duplicate subnets, you will see it over here as well. And you remember there's a configuration for DNS server. It will be also seen in this log. You will see an active session from satellite to gateway. It is also an SSL system log. You can filter event ID EQ, SAT, gateway, connect, started. I'll also show you the system log shortly. So satellite to gateway, satellite register request. You can see post request under SSL VPN access log. And for more detailed logs, you can always check app-web3 SSL VPN.log. You can also verify detailed connection information under RAS MGR log as well. But you have to enable a debug on it. If you see here, you can see serial number registered, allocating IP from client config IP pool, return IP, the IP information as well. So this are also RAS manager logs continuing. You can see what is the algorithm it is selecting. Selected encryption algorithm AES-128 CBC or Algo SHA-1. So whatever is selecting, you can see gateway selects these one routes from satellites published routes to publish on the gateway. If you have defined any route information over there, it will select that. So inside gateway, LSVPN gateway, satellite, and the serial number of the satellite, IP pool, the tunnel interface IP. You can see SPIs as well, client to server SPI and server to client SPI as well. Under the gateway logs, you can, GP gateway logs, you can see these logs. System logs, you might not see much. And for GlobalProtect log under the monitor tab, you can filter out with event ID satellite gateway auth or event ID EQ satellite gateway get config. Now the tunnel setup complete request under the SATD log. At the bottom, you see satellite on interface tunnel 160 connected successfully to remote gateway 222.37. For troubleshooting tunnel, you can check the tunnel log. For SPI information, key manager. If you are troubleshooting information to the routes being pushed, you can always go and check under the routed d.log. Whatever you're pushing or updating, you will see it under the routed d log. For example, at the bottom you see update route entry via route message and 1037.37.1032 and interface 258 next stop 000 action 3. So these kinds of logs you will see. There will always be an active session from satellite to gateway. It is on SSL. Then once a tunnel is established, you will see IPsec ESP UDP. For GlobalProtect log, event ID, EQ, satellite, gateway, tunnel setup. Under the SSL VPN access log, you can post request for tunnel setup complete.esp. And for detailed logs, you can run a debug on FWeb3 SSL You can also check the RAS MGR logs as well and the MGR log if you want to enable a debug for SPIs. So for route information, routed.log, system log will not have much information for tunnel setup complete request. And under the GP logs, under the monitor tab, event IDs, satellite gateway update route, and satellite gateway tunnel setup. Next is tunnel monitoring and route addition. Under a satellite, you can check the logs for that and the routed D log. Whatever the routes are being added, you will see update route entry via route message under the routed log. And at the bottom, you can see these are the logs. You can also run a debug on SAT-D log as well for more detailed log. And in the system logs, the event is tunnel status up for tunnel monitor. And under the GP portal, GlobalProtect logs, event ID is satellite gateway tunnel monitor. If you want to check for tunnel monitor, if it's up or not, you can also run a command on the satellite through the CLI to get show GlobalProtect satellite. It will give you satellite information, the timer information, the portal config, the portal name. It is like a portal name and the IP address, and the tunnel information that is related to the gateway. We'll run this command. Let's go ahead and try to complete our setup. So what right now, so this is 158. Okay, this is 158. This is my satellite. On the satellite, I have all the information, but my status is down from 10.10.10. Let me see if I can ping internet. No. Okay. So I believe when we created the called the sedware on gateway, we never committed. So on the gateway, let's do a commit first. 255. And let's go ahead. Let's log into this satellite. Let's confirm satellite IP 158 here. Okay, let's see what do we observe in the log. Okay, my commit is completed. Let's go back to our satellite. Okay, that is still down. Let's try to refresh. Let's see if our portal connection is successful. Okay, you can see event SAT-D gateway connect started, and before that, SAT-D portal connect started. It is trying to reconnect to the gateway. So a portal connection was successful. That's why we got the gateway information. Let's go ahead and check. Okay, now it's up. We do see connection successful to portal, and this is the gateway information. Gateway tunnel IP 37, 37, 37, 37. Access routes, this is the routes I configured under the access route. local tunnel IP 10.10.11.11 from the IP pool. Let's see. Sorry, not this. Okay. This is a SATD log. So my portal was connected, but gateway wasn't. So I do see a SATD for gateway. Okay, you can see satellite. It is trying to connect to gateway. Satellite LSVPN set config. It got the gateway information from the portal. In progress. The certificate intermediate CA. What we have defined over here. Common name for the gateway certificate 10.3. And this is the SPIs for the tunnel. Got config. Insert satellite IPsec tunnel. Satellite on interface tunnel.1 successfully connected. Tunnel monitor status. So this is the log for SATD which we were discussing. Let's see right now my satellite is up. I do see a successful connection. I wasn't able to ping internet from my Windows machine. Let's see if I can still ping it. Okay, it's working. Let's check or confirm. Okay, it's working. We'll confirm on the satellite firewall if we are seeing the traffic coming from IPsec, and is it actually for this. So if we are seeing on the satellite firewall, then we'll see it on the gateway firewall as well. So from the satellite firewall, we will not see traffic coming from IPsec because it's directly connected to the satellite. But on the gateway firewall, it will be coming from IPsec and then exiting. So this is the topology. I'm on the client machine. I'm trying to ping bbc.com. It is directly connected to the satellite firewall. Then from the satellite firewall, I do not have any route configured to gateway firewall, but then there's an IPsec through LSVPN, and then on the gateway firewall, it will exit towards the internet. So I tried pinging bbc.com. Let's check the traffic log. Do we see traffic on this firewall? So source 10.10, destination, I'm pinging. So I can see a ping request 151, 101, 192.81. Is that the BBC IP? 192.81, yes. So I do see traffic coming on the satellite firewall. You can see the destination, tunnel 1. So it looks like it is being pushed through the tunnel. Let's check the logs on the gateway firewall. So from the gateway firewall, I see source 10.10.10.10, the client PC IP, destination 151.101, 192.81, 192.81. That was BBC's IP, and I do see traffic landing on it. Let's see. Yeah, it's coming from tunnel 1 interface, and then whatever the NAT I've defined, it is using that to go towards internet. So with this configuration, it looks like my LSVPN is working. I do see tunnel status up. Let's also check the event logs, system logs. Okay, for when it is trying to connect to gateway, this was the event. SAT-D Gateway Connect started. For portal, it was SAT-D Portal Connect started. So let's try to run this command as well. Show GlobalProtect satellite. So on the satellite, I can see satellite information. This is the config. The timer, I have not defined any specific timer, so this is all by default. This is the portal config. We defined which portal it needs to connect to. Connection was successful. Portal refresh timer, local routes, and from the portal, this is the gateway information we got. Then, sorry, yeah, this is for the tunnel. So tunnel IPs. This is the satellite IP. This is the portal IP. Local cert is a satellite cert.